you. Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Madhu Nimani and I am PD Seva Director for Atlanta. I welcome you all to this webinar where we are going to learn about plant care. And you can see the screen in front of you, how to start seed. So it's basically for the beginners, right? And at some point in our life, we all are beginners doing something for the first time and then learning from it. So this webinar is going to be learning the basics of planting, the basics of soil health, basics of organic fertilizers, and many more things. And I wanted to bring it to your attention that we have two subject matter experts here. One is Ashwin Kattila and his daughter Tanvi. And you must have heard that he has a farm here. Kattila Farms belong to him. So he's the owner, he's the subject matter expert, and he'll share his insights, as well as his daughter Tanvi will share her insights. And just let you know, Tanvi is 11th grader, but she's a very, very passionate person for the taking care of the plants, the seeds, and she's gonna do this presentation for us. And with Ashwin, we also have Kiran, his father. His father is Srinivas Vasalu Naidu, and his wife Chaitanya with us. And they are also very passionate garden lovers. So today you're going to get very good insights about the plant care, soil health, organic farming, and much more. So let me just give you a little bit intro on these two subject matter experts that we have. Ashwin Kattila, he is the owner of Kattila Farms. And he started his journey, just because of his love for the plants, his love for the land. And his passion has become to his business side of it, starting with backyard gardener thing to becoming a passionate gardener, and then now having a business where he's not just helping his family, but also helping all across us in Atlanta as well as in Florida. So he is gonna share all the good information that we all are looking forward. And little intro on Kiran and his father. His father, Srinivas Vasalu Naiduji, he's from Andhra Pradesh, and he has been doing farming since 5 years old. So think about what you're gonna get. His father was 5-year-old in India when he started his farming business, right? And he's going to share all the insights with you. Along with him, we also have Chaitanya, who's going to be leading that presentation. So today you're going to get really good insights on do's and don'ts on planting, on seed preparation, seed selection, soil. Okay. Let me mute this.
Madhuji, can you make me co-host?
One second. Okay. Yes, Hiteshi, you are making you co-host. So you are co-host now. Okay. So as I said that today it's going to be hands-on experience for all of us. We all are learners here and we are passionate about gardening, and we are going to learn the science of planting today from the experts, both Ashwin and his team and Kiran and his team. And we'll learn the do's and don'ts, soil preparation, seed selection, organic farming, composting, you name it. So this going to be awesome session. And our VT Seva leads, there are two leads who are taking this project forward, Shobhan Abhireddy and Malati Appala. They are the main contact persons. So they will share about what's the next step, how you can get some discounts, buying seeds, and other logistics for our April Cool project. So in Atlanta, we have done April Cool last year. April Cool is basically start planting in the month of March, and then take care of the plant in the month of March as well as in April, and then we donated for the cause. We raised $2,000 last year, and we donated it for the COVID assistance for India, because that time the COVID was there. So this time we're going to go even bigger. And so Malti and Shobhan, they are going to be the team leads if you need any information regarding April Cool project, and also discounts from the Kattila farms. Couple of housekeeping points here. While they are presenting, please do not ask any questions. If you have any questions, just put it on the chat. So later we will address all your questions. So without any further ado, Shobhan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madhuji. Thanks for the introduction. So I would like to welcome Kattila Family Farms to start the presentation to begin with, followed by Kiran's team. So Tanvi, you are good to go.
Cool. So today we're going to learn how to start seeds. It's not necessarily a science as much as it's a practice. Once you figure out a technique and a method that works for you, then that should be able to germinate any seeds that you'd like. This is a way that we here at Kattila Family Farms, this is how we germinate our seeds. This is what we find works best for us. So let's go ahead and start. So what we use any sort of potting soil. We use Pro Mix on the farm. That's what we find to be the best. It's the lightest soil. It has a lot of air, and it's easier for the seeds to actually sprout through. You can always use Miracle Grow, any sort of seed starter mix, or even potting soil works great. Pots, you can use little pots that you find at the store, or you can always use solo cups or Dixie cups. When you're using solo cups or Dixie cups, you always want to try and poke a hole in the bottom of the cup so that water can drain out so it doesn't become like a puddle. And then you're going to need the seeds of your choice, water, and these are optional, but you can always use a disposable spoon or a shovel for the dirt, a spray bottle. Spray bottles are usually a lot better to use rather than pouring it in through a cup because it's a lot more gentle on the seed itself. A Sharpie or marker, that's just to label your pots to make sure you don't get anything mixed up. And paper plates or trays, that makes it way easier to move around your seeds and your pot plants so that you're not having to make multiple trips back and forth. So the first step is you're gonna choose your seeds, you're gonna lay it out, and then you're gonna take all your pots and you're gonna label them with your Sharpie or your marker. The second step is you're going to loosen the soil. This is very important. So what we do is we take a small amount of soil and then we put it into almost like a bowl. And then we're going to use our fingers to break up any large chunks and to also make the soil a lot more loose. Usually when you buy soil, it comes in a plastic bag, so it's packed down pretty hard. So you just want to loosen it up to where it's not super dense. Step 3, you're going to fill your pots. We fill our pots until there's about an inch of space from the top of the cup to the soil. And then usually we use our finger to create a very small indent in the top, just as a guide to show us where our seed has to go. Step 4 is you're going to plant your seeds. This is the best step. So you're in that little indent you make, you're going to want to put in your seed. The rule of thumb usually is for the smaller the seed, the deeper in. For seeds like chili seeds, tomato seeds, eggplant seeds, because they're smaller, you want to put them about 1/4 of a centimeter into the ground or into your soil. But bottle gourd seeds, bitter gourd seeds, you can leave those a little closer to the top. And next, you're going to water your plants. This is very important. Usually, you're going to want to use a spray bottle. However, not everyone has one that can be dedicated for gardening. So you can always use a cup and just really lightly just pour a little bit of water until all of the soil is completely soaked and it's dripping out the bottom. Next, oh, okay, yeah, this is just a rundown, just like a generic rundown. It's, step 1, label your pots. Step 2, fill the soil. Step 3, fill the pots with soil. Step 4, plant your seeds. And step 5, water. And some basics, these are some tips. All seeds germinate at different temperatures. It's not going to be like bell peppers are going to germinate at the same temperature that strawberries are going to germinate. It's all different. You usually can find that information on Google. I know at Kattila Family Farms, we have them on the backs of our seed mailers, or yeah, the seed envelopes. And the most common temperature that a seed will germinate in is about 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So usually if you start the seeds inside your house, you won't have a problem with them germinating. The soil needs to be moist at all times, but just not soaking wet. You should be able to feel it and feel a little bit of water coming off on your hands, but not so much water where it's constantly dripping out the bottom of the pot. Last tip is do not give your plants anything except for water until you get your first 2 sets of true leaves. Anything else besides water can stop or even like slow down the germination process. I know a lot of places say that certain things can speed it up. However, usually water will do the best, better than most any other things. And these are the stages of plant growth. So right now, when you plant your seeds, you're going to be at the sprout stage for a couple days. Then you're going to move on to your seedling. You're going to be at your seedling for 2 to 3 weeks usually. Then you're going to move to your vegetative state. This is when you're going to want to use a lot of nitrogen. Usually if you have a lot of clover around where you're gardening, then you're going to have a really good amount of nitrogen in your soil. Next, you're going to move on to the budding stage. This is just where, you're going to start seeing the little flower buds. And then you're going to move into your next stage, which is flowering. And this is going to be right before your ripening stage. And this is when you're going to want to pull off any fruits that you want to eat or any fruits that have reached maturity. And at this stage, you can also leave your fruits on the vine if you want to make your own seeds. This would be the stage to do so. So that's the presentation. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to shout them out.
Yeah, thanks, Tanu. I think we'll take the questions at the end. They're gonna put it in the chat, and moderator will direct the questions accordingly. A couple of things I want to add. By the way, my name is Ashwin Kattila. Madhuji called me as a owner of Kattila Farms, but owner and expert of Kattila Farms, but I would like to keep myself away from both those terms. One, I am not the owner, I am the farmer in Kattila Family Farms. Two, I'm not, this is not a business. It is basically like it is our farm. I would, in future, if everything goes well, I want this thing to be our livelihood. Okay, so those are the two things. But apart from that, most of the things that Tanvi mentioned, they are pretty common, and that will give you good results. The things that I would like to add is the first and most important thing is patience. Okay, if you put the seed today, it will not going to germinate tomorrow. Each seed has its own kind of like incubation period. Some seeds, they might germinate in 6 to 10 days. Some seeds might take more than that. So there is a rough reference. You can Google up, or you can call me on on my phone. You can find it in our website, or you can Google up for different varieties. There is a different time when the seeds will germinate. So patience is the first thing. Second thing is, if you can take care of elements, five elements, then nothing will go wrong. One, soil. If your soil, as Tanvi mentioned, if it is properly taken care. Two, water. Three, air. Four, temperature. And five, light. So if you can understand and take care of these five things, then there is no way that a seed will not germinate. Of course, there is a question of seed viability, but uh, that is at this point of time, I would think that is not the questioning point. Okay, so if you can take these five elements good care, you're okay. So temperature is being one of the important thing. I've seen a lot of people, including myself, have not had a good success because we haven't been able to provide temperature at the optimum level. So 75 to 85 degrees, if you can maintain that temperature with the proper moisture, that will give you 80% of the results. Okay, and most importantly, what I want to tell you is, once another thing, I mean, along with the temperature and water, at least for the first few days, like 3-4 days, if you can put it in a dark place, that will also help. In a warm dark place, that will also help in speeding up the germination process. And most importantly, once the seed germinates and you can see the first set of leaves, true leaves, you immediately want to move them into a into brighter area, not directly under the sun, but in a shady area where it can see some light. Otherwise, what happens is, these seedlings are smart. Okay, they are smart, and they try to uh, uh, go for the light themselves. In the process, they become leggy. Okay, so what you might want to do is, as soon as you see the seeds germinate and true leaves appear, you might want to move right next to the window. And now the temperatures are pretty good, so you might want to put it in your patio or under a covered patio during the daytime, and bring them inside when it gets cool in the night. So if you can take care of these things, you should be good to go. And again, if you have any questions or if you need any help, you are always welcome to stop by at our farms. And if you need any help, you can call us, email us. Email probably is not the best way, because we have tons of emails coming in every day. So call or text or WhatsApp. These three are the best way to communicate with us. And yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you. Thanks, Shoban and Madhuji, and I'm very glad to be associated with the VT Seva, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashwin and Tanvi. It's a great presentation. So I would like to now move on to Kiran's families to share their experience and adding to this in terms of process, germinating seeds. Tanvi, can you
Yes,
stop
let me
sharing?
remove my screen.
So stop sharing, Tanvi. The green button
Yes,
that
that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. This is like my first time using Zoom.
No, there should be like a stop sharing button. Trust me, I've used it so many times and I still
Yes, there we go.
Yay.
Okay.
I use it on the daily and I still can't figure it out. So I feel like, oh. Okay.
Kiran,
So,
Chaitanya, go
yeah,
ahead.
let me know when you guys can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So, so again, this is our experience. We are not at the level of Kattila Farms. We've been there. It's a great farm. We've bought some more plants from them. You know, we do this because it is our, sorry, that's my daughter. We do this because one, it's, we care about the environment, sustainability, and it's a family passion. And it's also just in our, and it's our generations, we've been farmers. So it's just something that we would like to teach our kids because it's super important. And also just we compost, we collect rainwater, and that's all stuff that we would like to just continue. So yeah, again, this is like what Thanvi was saying. I'm going to mirror a lot of that stuff. It's based off of experience, what works for you in your area and with whatever seeds you're doing. There is no one method to do it. So, and a lot of it has been luck and just trial and error for us over these 2 growing seasons. Okay, so the first thing that we really care about is prepping our growing area. So there are a couple ways you can prep your growing area, whether it's in the ground or if you want to create raised beds. There's pros and cons to both. In the ground, you have to water your plants less. It's less labor and less cost in terms of creating like raised beds and paying for that. You can usually use heavier machines directly into the ground. As a raised beds, you won't be able to do that. It's going to be a lot more manual, and there's natural insulation just from being in the ground. Cons of in the ground is it's a lot of soil compaction, which is super important for root growth, because if your ground is rock hard, your roots are not going to be able to grow and sprout, and that will weaken your plant. And then there's less drainage. We actually didn't experience this as much just because our land is on a slight slope. And so, we're surrounded by trees. So those trees are, soaking up all that water. And also we've built in some drains into the ground. So that was also so that helped us to remove a lot of the water in our backyard. It takes longer to build up the quality of your soil, just depending on how it is. For us, it's our garden, before we purchased a house, it's just grass, it's like a typical garden. Not a garden, but a typical backyard just with grass. And so in Georgia, we have like red acidic dirt. And in the summer, where our garden is, it's just directly in the sun. So the summer, the nitrogen just burns off. So that we had to deal with a lot of compaction issues, a lot of nutrients this year. So it takes a while to build that up. And a lot of weeds, which are also competing for that nutrients. And then we also have to, if you plant in the ground, you probably have to plant later in the season, just depending on temperatures and all of that. Raised beds, again, it's kind of like give and take, right? So better drainage, you can plant earlier in the spring. Some people just like it because it looks better. So it's totally your choice. And then higher quality soil, because you are picking the soil and you are putting it into your raised bed. So usually you are going to purchase something, that's nutrient rich, like Miracle Grow or whatnot. Tanya was saying, with good potting soil. So cons, you're going to have to water more because there is more drainage. And like I was saying, you can't use big, kind of tools in there. So it's a lot labor, less insulation. So it's going to cool, your ground is going to cool down faster. And then, like I said, more upfront costs. This is our area, just our backyard. So, space for us to work in, and then the divots right here, just for water, to kind of, move away from the bed. So it's a little higher in the center so that the water doesn't pool around the plants. And, okay, so we usually start 3 months before planting, but again, it's your experience, whatever you want to do. And what I mean planting like directly into the ground. So like 3 to 2 months usually, yeah. So we start moving our soil and start tilling it. We've got like an electrical tiller, so we do that. And it's not something we do once, we're doing this multiple times. And while we're doing that, we are, clearing away weeds, any rocks, branches, whatever. We're also mixing in our compost and our fertilizer, to get that nutrients back into the ground. We have like a pH tester because you know, a few years we were just, even though we were putting in fertilizers, they weren't the right ones. So that is a big thing. That's a learning curve, because there's certain ratios on fertilizers. It's like 1:1:1 or something, but different numbers. And that indicates the different level of nutrients. And we did have to get one that was nitrogen rich and actually calcium rich. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the portions to it, the ratio, but yeah, we were able to actually find that with a pH tester and just looking on Google for pH tester scales and what they indicate in the soil. And then also planting your seedlings. So, so perhaps for our seedlings, we do it in containers. But what Tanya was saying, you can do it in Dixie cups. You can also, if you want to be more sustainable about it, you can collect all of your paper towel or toilet paper rolls, and you can just cut them and make a little bottom, put soil in there and use that. And they're compostable as well. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. You know, definitely Google is your best friend for finding sustainable ways to do it. It's up to you guys. We reuse these plastic pots, so I don't feel as bad about using all that plastic. And then label your seeds. Again, like Tanya was saying, cover your seeds to keep them warm. Again, it depends on your growing area. And that also helps with moisture retention and just keeping that warm environment. And sunlight, obviously, and water your plants. And yeah, again, we use like, if we're in the greenhouse, we're using a misting setting on our hose, or like the spray bottles always works too. And you can get that at like the dollar store. I would be careful just depending on where everyone lives and the water that comes out of your hose. Some people's water is gray water, which is not the same water that comes out of your tap. It's not as filtered, and it's usually like drain runoff. And so there can be other chemicals and stuff like that because it's runoff water. So if you have that information, I would definitely look into it. Like a lot of people's sprinklers have gray water, and that's fine for grass and stuff. But you know, when you have your little saplings, you definitely want to make sure that you know what's in your water. So we use rainwater most of the time, unless our rainwater, is depleted, then we're using it out of our hose. But our hose water is technically the same as our tap water. But yeah. And then these are just little tips. It's good to plant in small individual containers, and that has to do with crowding because your seeds, I like to think of them as our babies, like our own kids, right? They are very, they're in their initial stages of life. They're very sensitive. So they're competing for nutrients. So if you crowd your pot, it's fine initially, but then your seeds are probably, your saplings are probably going to start dying. The seeds are going to start going yellow, which is a great indicator that they're that they are suffocating and do not have enough nutrients. Place in a warm, well-lit area, great soil. We use a lot of compost, but we do use we use additives like cow manure and stuff like that. So that's super important when you're first starting out. And then obviously watering. And then another thing, just like Tanya was saying, some plants are very specific to how they need to be grown. And so you can always read the packet of which you bought your seeds, because they will give you the growing time, how much water to give, how to plant it, and how deep to plant it, all of that. Okay, so when to start transplanting? It varies from plant to plant. Most say it should be 3 to 4 true leaves. I've also read, depending on the plant, it might be just 2 leaves. And if your plants start turning yellow, that means they're losing their nutrients again. So you definitely need to move it, or you need to start adding nutrients in there. If your roots are growing like crazy and you can see them just wound around in that pot, like if you're doing like a clear pot, like a Dixie cup or something. And then again, if you initially just did a bunch of seeds, and then we'll do that with carrots sometimes because the seeds are so tiny, you just kind of sprinkle it. But once we see the little saplings, we will carefully separate them and then move them into smaller containers. And then once those are bigger and they've gotten their true leaves, then we will move it into the ground. So again, case by case, depending on the plants you're growing. And then the final growing area, the most exciting part, or not the most exciting, one of the exciting parts, you know, obviously when you get the fruit, that's one of the exciting parts. Make sure your area is fully prepped for sure. When you're digging a hole, you need to make sure that there's space for the roots to grow. That's super important. And that's what Thunvi was saying, where it has to be loose soil. It's for the roots need space, right? So they say like Masala was saying, like a rule of thumb, and our garden is truly not at that. It's just because there's so much clay in there, is if you can stick your arm down into the soil, like not super easy, but you need to be able to move it in there. That's ideal for planting. That means there is space for those roots to grow. If you can't do it, that means your soil is way too compact. And we're still kind of doing that because we have so much clay in our soil and it's not that far deep. It's maybe like 2 feet deep. So that's something that we're still working on. Yeah, add some nutrients. So after you dig your hole right, maybe dig it a little bit deeper, add some good potting soil in there, or fertilizer, whatever works for you, whatever you want to do. And then you want to refill the hole, but you don't want to like pack it down again, right? Like you don't want to undo all the work that you've done to uncompact it. And then you also obviously want to water. And again, you don't want to water it super with like this hose on harsh setting. You still want to be able to mist it because it's still kind of a sapling, right? Yeah, okay. So maintenance, once it's, in your garden, final planting area, obviously you got to water your plants, make sure your soil is moist. Again, read your packets to make sure make sure you don't overwater, because that's also a problem. Treating your soil. So like I said, our garden is very it is nutrient deprived, and so we are constantly adding in compost or fertilizers, cow manure, or whatever happens, and soil erodes. That happens a lot in our garden, and especially I would say in Georgia, just with the heavy rains that we have, how we have put because we're in the ground and we've essentially created mounds. So every time it's heavy rains, it knocks away a lot of that dirt. So we have to go back and build that dirt up, because you don't want your plants roots to be showing or too much of the plant exposed, because it's going to die, right? And the bugs are going to get to the roots, and the roots are super, super important. That's the strength of your plant. That's how your plant is absorbing a good chunk of its nutrients from the soil. Weeding, making sure your plants aren't competing with weeds for the nutrients and all that like hard work you're putting in to put that in, right? Pests, that's a huge problem. A lot of our neighbors, and we like to say that all the fruits and vegetables that we get is what is left from all the squirrels and birds. So we have a lot of those issues, and deers and stuff from eating it. Yeah, and then pruning and stakes and all that. So as your plants are getting bigger, they do need support, like tomatoes or singwa, whatever it may be. You need to make sure that the limbs are supported so that they can grow tall and all that. And also like with some of the stuff that we experienced with heavy rains and stuff was that the leaves at the bottom of the trees were starting to rot. So we would clear away that dead leaf so it doesn't affect the whole plant. And yeah, I think that's it. So this is just our little garden from the aerial view. I've got a couple of pictures. I don't know if you guys want to look at our garden, and then I can show you that real quick. This is like, as you can see, all the stakes that we put in, and these we've just collected when we've had to clear away branches from our garden to make more room so that sunlight can actually hit it. So we've reused a lot of these, just tree branches. They really don't have to be fancy unless you really care about aesthetics. So it's totally up to you. You can purchase them, or you can just cut a bunch of tree limbs and use that. And then these are a couple of other plants like avocados. We stick them in the greenhouse. It really depends, like lemons and oranges. Because of the acidic soil here in Georgia, you really can't grow them in the ground. From my understanding, so lemons and stuff, we usually move it in and out of our greenhouse. And yeah, these are just a couple of like our harvests and stuff. Yeah, and that is all I've got. If you guys have any questions, I'll leave it to you guys.
Yeah, I do see there are a few questions posted. So I would like to, let me help you with that, Chaitanya and Tanvi, you can address them. So the first one is, if there are any specific products such as soil, fertilizer that has worked for you guys, and if there is any advice that you would like to give on what soil to use, potting soil, plant soil, or etc.
Thanavi, if you want to jump in, totally up to you. She kind of had to mention some before, like Miracle Grow, and we've gotten quite a few potting soils from Costco. They have like this organic potting soil, which is like cow manure based. That's been great. And like I said, we compost all of our food scraps, and that has worked really great for us as well. And also all of our leaves from fall, we collect all of that and we add that to our compost.
Okay. The next question I would say is, what is the best time to start seeding? Tanvi? Or Chaitanya?
Yeah, so we started at the beginning of February, and we're probably going to start planting in about we're going to start planting probably at the end of the month.
Another March, is it, Chaitanya?
Sorry, yeah, like it depends on which plants. So we'll probably start planting one in like 2 weeks to towards the end of the month, just depending on which plants they are and how far they've grown.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Hey,
you.
Shubhan,
And, yeah, go ahead, Ashwin.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Ashwin, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got another call. I got distracted. But was there a question for me?
It was kind of like a generic question, like what time is, what is the best time to start seeding process? So,
Oh,
you want to add
starting.
anything?
Oh, okay. I mean, if Chaitanya took care of it, then I'm okay. Or if you have any other, I mean, if you want me to elaborate, I can do that too.
Yeah, sure, Ashwin. So Chaitanya was saying like they usually start in early February, and by end of March they'll. I think that was a prep, right? Chaitanya, you were mentioning.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So like, yeah, we start usually like February, early February to start like, but again, we are doing it in the greenhouse. So we kind of have those ideal temperatures, right? So we start in early February, and then we start planting end of March. But again, it really depends on the temperature. So like, I think last year we had one really great week of, really good temperatures, like 70, 75s. And then we just had one cold week, and unfortunately
April 6th and 7th.
Sorry.
April 6th and 7th, we had a freeze last year.
Yeah, so we planted like end of March, and then a week, like all those plants died. So it was really a bummer. So keeping an eye on temperature is super important. So so just always keep that in mind. Like it's experience-based, season-based, weather-based.
Okay.
And in Georgia, rule of thumb, try to plant, do the transplant only after April 15th. I mean, though the weather appears to be warming up and getting better, you still have a risk of getting ground frozen till up until April 15th. And as Chaitanya mentioned, we have seen that last year. We had quite a few plants in ground, and come April 6th and 7th, it froze, and we had to we lost a lot of plant, and more than that, we had to redo a lot of work. So I agree with Chaitanya that if the temperatures are right, you can or if you can simulate the right temperatures, you can start as early as February. But one thing what I would like to add here is since in Atlanta or in Georgia we have a window of about 7 to 8 months and about 5 to 6 months of fruiting. I would say start your seeding process indoors as early as February, and so that by the time the when the weather turns around and the temperatures are climbing back up, you have a seedling which is about 7 to 8 or 10 weeks old, and you can safely transplant them into the ground. And seedlings about 8 weeks of old, they are pretty sturdy. They can withstand a little bit of ups and downs in the temperature. But I mean, since the weather is the window of good weather in Atlanta is shorter, I recommend starting indoors early so that you can have your 8 to 10 weeks old saplings ready by April 15th, and you can place them in the ground. So February 15th for all the vegetable seedlings belonging to Solanaceae family, like green chilies, eggplants, tomatoes, and uh, basically these ones, bell peppers. Those those seeds, they need about 12 to 15 days to germinate, and they are slow growers. So give them a little bit of time. So maybe you want to start off with that in last week of February or first week of March. And gourds, don't worry about gourds. Start them very late in the season, like March 2nd or 3rd week, because gourds like bitter gourd, ridge gourd, uh, long gourds, long squash, all those gourds and squash, they are very fast to germinate, and they grow very fast. So you can delay them up until uh, March 2nd or 3rd week. And other things like moringa, gongura. What I prefer to do in my farms is I wait till end of April, and directly put the seed into the ground. So that way they grow faster in the ground.
Okay, thank you, Ashwin. So there is another question from Lavanya asking to see if there is any seeds that will be supplied by Viti Seva for beginners. I would let Madhuji to talk about that.
Yeah, so last year, as you all know, some of you know that we did this project called April Cool. And in that, our children purchased the seeds, and we did not know where to buy. So everybody purchased wherever they can get, whether from Home Depot or Dollar Store or whichever store, Pike Nursery. So this year, that's why we wanted our professionals to help us. And Katla Farms, Ashwin especially, I want to thank him for giving us the discount. So we'll recommend all our VT Seva volunteers, especially youth who are passionate about gardening, and we want them to do more for this eco-friendly sort of a project. You will get volunteer hours based on how much contribution you do, but there'll be a discount, and that discount you have to go through our VT Seva leads, which is Shobhan and Maltiji. And you can buy the seeds, and there will be some seeds that easily you can take care, like tomatoes and green chilies and some others, and some are a little more require more care or more assistance them to grow. But definitely, if you need any help, we have the subject matter experts this time. We have Ashwin and we have Kiran. So both are there to help us. And for the seeds, Again, I would say VT Seva discount, we can use it. And the reason why we are doing is, first, we have to help our Mother Nature Earth eco-friendly project. Second, we are doing it to raise some funds, because what we do is sow, grow, and donate. So we donate for the blind and visually challenged kids' education. So now the COVID is no more, we'll raise some funds for the blind kids in India. So they need some assistance in their laptops and other things that can help raise some dollars for them. So that's the second. And third, we want you to work with the soil, the dignity of labor. So those are the three benefits that we want all our VT Seva volunteers to take it forward. And any discount for the seeds or nurturing or any of those, please contact Shobhan, and then he can help us set up things. Does that help, Shobhan?
Yeah. Thank you, Madhuji.
And just to add
So-
what Madhu was saying just about sustainability, a lot of the seeds we are using now this season is seeds that we are collecting from fruits from our previous season. So like for singwas, we just let, like, one of the techniques is you just let the fruit or the vegetable just ripen a lot on the vine itself. And once the plant has dried out, then we collect those seeds. So I just saw someone's from Sri Lakshmi, how she was saying, you know, do seeds and from our kitchen work. Yeah, if you're going to the grocery store, you know, and you're buying vegetables and you're like, hey, you know, let me see if I can try growing it. I definitely recommend trying it out. That's how we got all of our bell pepper seeds. Those just worked really well. Some of them work and some of them don't. So again, it's trial and error, but it's a great way to be sustainable with your seeds, and it's not always about just like purchasing, and, you know, it's wallet friendly as well.
Yeah, good point, Chaitanya. Good point. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chaitanya. So moving on to the next question, to prevent weeds. So do you recommend mulch or weed preventer or any chemicals or manual pull, you know? So how do you?
I'll go ahead. And again, if Ashwin wants to jump in, let me know. So we, because our kids, you know, my son is very active on our garden, we try not to use any chemicals. We try to use natural methods as much as possible. Like literally for our squirrels, we just sprinkled a bunch of chili powder everywhere, and that kind of deters them. So we do a lot of manual pulling. It's more time consuming, but we find that if you're getting it from the root entirely, it usually does a good job. And if you get the weeds early before the seeds germinate and spread, especially for like crab weeds, and like, I don't know if you guys know what those are, those little white, now I'm forgetting the name, but the little white balls that you kind of, kids love to blow on, and then the seeds spread everywhere. But those are all weeds, and you want to get it before that happens, right? So yeah, a lot of manual pulling, and yeah, we clear it out that way, just because we don't want to deal with chemicals. But you can totally do chemicals if that is what you prefer, and it's less labor intensive.
Okay, thank you, Chaitanya. Anything to add from your side, Ashwin?
I think the best way to control weed is weed cover. If you can get a weed blanket or a woven fabric, and right now is the right season before the pollen spreads, with the right season coming up. If you can put a cover on the garden bed that you're using for raising the vegetables or growing the plants, that will help a lot of that will prevent a lot of weeds, and you can save a little bit of time pulling the weeds out and keeping it maintained. And like Chaitanya, I don't like to use any chemicals for weeds. In my farms, we use extensively ground covers. We black out the ground, and we only expose the ground where we are planting the plants.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry,
Ashwin.
just to add on to that, that's also really great for soil like moisture retention.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
natural covers that you can use are just like dry leaves and mulch, like whoever asked that question. Yeah, that's a really good point. Just we use a lot of dead leaves and mulch, and a lot of, and it's really popular here, right? Like pine needles that you'll see everyone putting in their front yards. That's also great for weed killing.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next question. Oh, so what are the best organic fertilizers or pesticides that you could suggest?
You want me to take it, Chaitanya?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Can you hear me, guys? Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Ashwin.
Okay. There are several organic fertilizers that are available in stores that you can buy, and most of them are only listed, and you can use them safely on your vegetable plants, and they react pretty well. One of the one we very commonly use in our farms is uh, fish fertilizer, and that we prepare, we make it in our farms, and we add different nutrients to the fish emulsion, and we provide fish emulsion mixed with water to the plants. That way, that is very effective. That what from our experience, that worked well for organic fertilizer. One thing is that you have a you have a vast selection of organic fertilizers you can use, and there are some fertilizers that you can also make at your home. That's altogether a big subject in itself. If you want, we can have another webinar, or you can get in touch with me, because I'm experimenting with a lot of organic fertilizers. One thing that I'm working this year is EM. It is called effective microorganisms, and you guys, that's a homework for you guys. You can just Google it up. It is called EM1, effective microorganisms 1. That's one good way of preparing your soil and land for vegetable plants growing. And one thing, what I tell, or what I believe in, is try not using carbon matter from your kitchen scraps directly into your beds. There is an intermediate phase. The carbon matter that comes from kitchen should not be directly going into your vegetable beds. Let me clarify further. Into your active vegetable beds directly. It should go into a compost pile, and once the composting process is completed, only then it should be given to the active beds. So try avoiding any organic matter directly from kitchen into the beds, especially buttermilk, banana peels, and yogurt. All those things, they in ground, they are little bit okay if you're directly adding it into the ground, because those materials, they will decompose, and they get lost into the enormity of the land or the ground. But if it is in a container, or if it is in a pot, or if it is in a raised bed, it will attract more infections, bacteria, and viral infection, fungal infections, which will disturb your plants. So uh, uh, don't directly give the organic matter, and that's about it. And uh, for pests, again, we use a lot of different only listed organic pests. One of it is neem, and we also use uh, uh, I don't recollect the name, but I can send it to you, Shobhan, if you want to send it to all the participants. But we have a few different organic pesticides that we use on farm, and also in our farm, right from the onset, we know, or we expect that 30% is about 25 to 30 percentage of our produce is wastage, because of the pest, because we are not pumping on any chemicals, so we will not be able to effectively prevent the pest. So we go with the rule of thumb that about 25 to 30% of our produce will gonna go waste, and that's why I have chickens and goats in my farm, because that produce that is infected with pests will go uh, into the like go into the livestock feed. That is one thing. And finally, as simple as it is, but I'll tell you which I have personally experienced. Okay, whenever you are going into your garden, vegetable gardens, right? If you are coming directly from outside or park or some grocery store or something, if you are going into your vegetable garden, just wash your hands. Sometimes as simple as you going into a playground or something, touching some plants there and coming back and touching your plants in your vegetable garden can expose them to infections that are not needed. I have experienced firsthand, and cross contamination. Even if somebody comes into your house with shoes, they might have walked around in different places and they walked in your gardens, that might also get your gardens infected with some unwanted infections. So I've seen in organic farms where we have to play uh, basically wear their approved shoes. We have to wear shoes over shoes, and we have to wash our hands with hydrogen peroxide even before we enter into their gardens. So if you can prevent these things, you can prevent viral infections, especially infections in plants are very dangerous. So if you can avoid cross contamination, that's one good thing.
Great points, Ashwin. Thank you so much, Ashwin Kattila. So one last question I have is, how do you prevent plant diseases?
Yeah, that's
So
what
I think,
was.
I think you already covered it. I just wanted to kind of emphasize to see if there is anything else.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to add about the fertilizers as well. Like Ashwin was saying, it's a lot of trial and error, and composting is a whole big subject itself. Another thing that we are trying this year is compost. What is it? We are trying compost tea recipe, which it involves a lot of the ingredients that Ashwin was talking about, which is like fish for like proteins and like kelp compost and all of that, and you kind of let it kind of stew with a air pump in there for 2 days and with a bunch of other ingredients. So that's something we're trying as a method for natural fertilizer, and also just like natural fertilizer, and it's also supposed to help with pests. But yeah, we do use neem oil as well, and that's kind of helped us. But yeah.
Okay.
One more thing I would like to add in terms of disease and pest control, right? If any of you guys in your house over the winter used fireplaces with wood burning, collect all the ashes and keep it. It will come in very handy. If at all, if you see any kind of fungal infection or viral infection on plant, you can dust it with the wood ash. That will prevent a lot of viral and fungal diseases.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. I never knew this. Thank you so much, guys. So I think that's all about questions, and I have seen some comments on like how do we get the seeds discount. So please ping me or Malteji offline via WhatsApp. So the plan is, since Ashwin and Kattila family farms are helping us with great discounts, we would like to consolidate the seeds in kind of to make it as many as few as possible transactions, so that they can also save on the transaction fees. So please ping us via WhatsApp. We'll consolidate the list, and the goal is to have the final list and pick these seeds from Kattila family farms by end of next week, if that is feasible for all of you. So I think that's all about it. It was a great session. Thank you so much. A lot of even I thought I know most of the things, but there are a lot of information. There's a lot of information that I was hearing for the first time. So I'm pretty sure it was very helpful for others as well.
And thank you. I truly enjoy this presentation and the insights. And yeah, it needs a lot of dedication for sure, patience and perseverance for sure. But there is two aspects to it. The first aspect is the science, that we have to follow a step-by-step process. And second is the art of planting, right? So it's not like, okay, even if we follow 1, 2, 3, it's going to work. Sometimes it may not work, right? So there is a science as well as art of planting. And we are blessed that today we have two subject matter experts with us. We have Ashwin and his daughter, Tanvi, and we also have Kiran, his father, Chaitanya. So now we are not alone, BT Seva volunteers. We have around 250 volunteers here, 250 plus, I would say, volunteers here in Atlanta, Georgia, and you are not alone. So if you have any questions, any concern, okay, my plant is not growing up, or I see these bugs on my plants, or what can I do? So we can invite these experts again also, right? So they are ready to help. So it's not like, okay, it's done this time and it's done forever. It's not done. It's just the beginning, right? So it's a beginning of putting things together for all of us and learning from each other and using the first-hand information, first-hand insights from the experts, from their experience, right? And again, I learned a lot, and I'm looking forward for more of these webinars from these experts. And as Shobhan has said, that we will consolidate this and we will give the list to Kattila Farms so that we can order in bulk and we all can get the discount. And let's start. Let's go green 2022, and let's do more. Let's do better. And again, I wanted to thank our experts here, Ashwin, you, your daughter, Kiran, your father, Chaitanya. Really, sincerely, I thank all of you for your time and sharing the insights with all of us. So with that, Shobhan or anybody else, you want to add anything to it, Maltiji?
Yeah, Madhuji, before, so there is a question from the group to explain, they're asking to explain the process, April Cool project and ours, so.
Yes, we will explain. So April Cool, basically, it's a very simple project. Sow, grow, and donate, 3-step process. So sowing, we have to order the seeds. So it's the time, as Shobhan said, let's do this by next week. So contact Shobhan and Maltiji offline. Let's buy the seeds. And some of the information you have, you know it today. We are recording this session. So we'll share the recording also. So you can look into their slides or what works, what doesn't work. And even after that, if you have any questions, then let us know. We can organize another session in the month of April, right? So in March, grow, take care. And in April or June, we'll have a big exhibition where we'll raise some funds for the blind and visually challenged kids of India. So as I said, last year we raised $2,000 that was given for the COVID relief aid. This time we'll do it for the education. We want education for all, whether it's visually challenged, blind, or normal people like us. So we'll talk more about April Cool in coming weeks. Is that okay?
Yeah, and so one of the members select me was saying like she's not part of the VT Seva group. She's in JET Atlanta Satsang group. So can you please post this recording there as well, Madhuji?
Yeah, sure. Who is the person? I can't see it.
Lakshmi.
So can you note the number? Can you please let me know your number? I can add you.
Lakshmi, can you please post your number, or you can do the direct message to me?
Yeah, we want maximum people to take advantage of these special sessions.
Yeah, I got the number, Madhuji. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
So yeah, let's just do it. Now we have learned it. Let's just implement the learning. That's all I'm gonna learn too. I learned, I have my notes here. You can see my notes here. When they're talking, I'm taking these notes. Okay, what goes where? Right? What I have to plant and soil and all that. And I hope you all took your notes too. And let's just use our notes and buy the seeds. That's first thing. Send your requirement to Shobhan and Maltiji. That's first thing. Start preparing your soil. Use the presentation recording. To talk to Shobhan and Maltiji if you have any questions, and just get started. So April is not far. This time we're gonna go even bigger than what we did last year. So thank you all for your time and enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Thank you. And once again, I would like to thank Kattila Family Farms and the Kiran family for contributing your time for this great cause. So sorry, we went a little bit over, 10, 11 minutes over 3 o'clock. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Shobhan. Thank you,
Yeah,
Malati.
thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna stop the recording. Thank you again.